Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariana Hernandez. I'm the Assistant Program Manager of Workforce Development here at LAEDC. And this is the HireLAX Apprenticeship Readiness Program student webinar. So thank you all for joining us. I form a part of a team of 3, and Jose Pelayo, who's on the call, is also joining me here today. Jose?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the time to meet. I advise you to ask as many questions as you possibly can and take some notes about this great program, but thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much, Jose. So these types of webinars are brought about through a partnership that we have with the Los Angeles Regional Consortium and the 19 community colleges in our area. So we provide not only student webinars around career awareness or work-based learning opportunities, but we also host regional program advisories for faculty and deans. If you're interested in learning more about the work that we do, you can visit the website on your screen. We'll also share the recording link with everyone, so you'll have access to this information after the webinar is over. At the end of the presentation, we'll go ahead and have a feedback poll. It's just 3 simple questions, so we ask that you please answer that at that time. But for now, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Christina Watkins, who is joining us from the HireLAX program.
Good morning, all. Well, afternoon now. I hope you can hear me. So I am coming to you direct from our classroom area today. So if there's any interruptions, my apologies. So the HireLAX program is the type of program where we prepare you to become a union apprentice in the construction industry. So why union construction? So most people don't realize the construction industry is actually an incredibly well-paying industry. Typically, apprentices begin somewhere between $18 and $26 an hour, and within 4 years, they're earning $40 an hour or more. I've got some that are earning $58 an hour. It just depends on the trade. But the money is there. That's not just let me have a decent life money. That's generation wealth building money. If you invest it, you can turn it into a business. I'll get all there in a minute. But the point is, it's real money. It can actually do something with your life money. What's more, it's also fulfilling for most people because you get to go around and you literally build your community. You literally go through the process of creating things that will most likely outlive you. You get to create different things in the region. Like we had people who graduated from this program who were involved in building the Rams Stadium. We've had people do a lot of the work at the airport, and I feel bad for their children in 10 years when they're all driving through and they'll be like, I built that, and because they're going to have to hear those stories over and over and over again. But it is a good point of pride. You get to do something for your community. Like I said, literally building your community. So the wonderful thing about this industry is it doesn't require a college degree. You can get one because that can augment other things, but it does not require one. So that's no college debt. Instead, you come through the certification program, an MC3. There's a couple of colleges, including ours, that offer one. And from there, you just go to work. And because it's a non-credit program, there's no cost to the student. It's absolutely free. So you come through, you get your certificate, and you pick your trade. That's the point, coming through our program. You learn about the different trades, and we want you to learn which one is going to fit you best, what the requirements are, what you need to do, and what's really important is how to survive in the construction culture. Because it is hard work, and you have to know what to expect. You have to be prepared for it. And that's what you need. And people like our instructors, Instructor Hernandez and Fernandez, they've been through it themselves. They know how to survive. They didn't just make it to journeyman. They climbed the ladder. They've been business owners. So once you become an apprentice, you're getting paid to learn your job. From there, you start climbing, and hopefully you become a journeyman. You finish your training in the union. You're now a journeyman. You can work unsupervised. From there, you can become a foreman, a superintendent. You could become a business owner. In the state of California, I believe it's 5 years of construction work to become a general contractor if you want. You can open your own business. Then I say, go back, get yourself some accounting classes and stuff like that before you do that, though, because you want to make sure you know how to keep your books. But that's the point. There's so many paths you can take. You can end up going into politics. You could work for the union in other capacity. And most people don't know this, but construction workers are one of the fastest growing segments of millionaires in our economy. This is, like I said, generational wealth. So the requirements for our program and most similar programs is you must be eligible to work in the US and you must be physically capable of doing the work. So if you can meet those two requirements, there's probably a program out there for you. Now, some of the programs do also require you to have your high school diploma or GED or your driver's license. And most programs don't have residency restrictions. Ours does. Our program does require you to live in the city of LA, which if you don't know is actually really big. It includes most of the valley. It's actually pretty big. And the cities that touch the airport. But if you don't live in any of those areas, there are more programs in LA County. I promise you, there are so many. And we can help you make those connections so you can get in somewhere and get started. Because something like, I think it was 25% of the current workforce is either already eligible for retirement or will be soon. That's a huge potential growth area for you. There's work, there's going to be a strong need. And where there's a strong need, there's a chance to climb quickly. Like I said, you could become a business owner. That's incredible. I hear lots of people say, I want to work for myself. You can do that in this industry. You can climb and you can do it. I don't want to take too long on the background, so I'm just going to offer 2 questions. Who has questions?
I can start off. I think there is a question already on the chat. How do you sign up, or how would you get more information if you are interested in participating?
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to put the email address in the chat here. It's HireLAX, HireLAX at LAWA. It stands for LAWA, Los Angeles World Airports, LAWA.org. So HireLAX at LAWA.org. And that email address, because this is going to be recorded and I don't know when you're going to see it, but if we are currently signing up people when you see it, that would be available on Eventbrite. You just search HireLAX, HireLAX. Right now, we are not taking new applications. That should go up again in probably about a month. So it is currently late May. So that'll probably go up mid-June, I believe, is when that should go live again. But at any time that you don't see it live on Eventbrite, you can email HireLAX and we can give you an idea of when it will be, or we can connect you to the agency that coordinates programs like ours to see if there's something near you that's starting sooner.
Thank you, Christina. And again, thank you so much for sharing the great pieces of advice you have so far. I guess in a more general question, in terms of the 8 weeks of training that participants go through, can you give just a little bit of information on what that actually entails, where the training takes place, and all of that?
Yes, so we are located on Los Angeles Southwest College's campus. We're down in the corner. We're called West Campus. It's where all the trailers are. Call us the bungalows. They're trailers. So it's, like I said, it's 8 weeks. During that time, you're going to learn some hands-on construction, the type of things you'd expect in a construction training program. Get your hands a little dirty, try some things out to see what you'd like, what feels right to you. A little electrical, a little cement, a little drywall, a little carpentry, just trying different things. But in addition to that, like I said, we want you to succeed. Right now, the stat is approximately 80% of people who enter an apprenticeship do not finish it. They drop out. So it's one thing to get in, it's another thing to make it, to stay in and make it. And that's what we want. So we want to prepare you so that you know what you're getting into, so you know how to succeed. This way, when you get in, you know how to stay in, because you want to make it to journeyman. So you're making that like $48 an hour. That's good money. So we also teach things like construction culture, how to really get along, how to work in your teams. We have a Second Call. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're a community agency that help with community healing, dealing with personal issues, so that people can work on their triggers so that they don't have a meltdown on the job site, so they can learn how to handle some of the abrupt nature of construction. So my background is military. It's part of why I'm in here, because they're very similar cultures. They're very hierarchical. You have to learn to understand not to take things personally. People don't say please and thank you. They go, hey, you go get me the, and you have to understand that's not an attack on you. Everybody's moving so fast. There's so much to do. It has to be very blunt, because honestly, they don't have the time to waste on pleasantries. It would just add up to too much lost time. So it's just go, go, go. And you need to understand that if they say tomorrow, 7 a.m., that means they like you. It's too easy to get rid of a first period apprentice. So if they're like, you're coming back tomorrow, we want you here, that is your sign that you're doing a good job. They're content with you. They're saying, show back up, we're going to keep paying you. So learning those types of culture, because it's not what a lot of people have experienced. It's not the typical American culture. It's definitely not city culture, where everybody kind of ignores each other, and when they do interact, it's pleasantly because you don't want to set someone off. These things are necessary to be successful. You have to understand the culture. We also teach math, because some of the unions require a math test, so we brush people up on their math. We teach construction history, the history of the unions, and the changes they made to society here in America. You can thank them for the 40-hour work week, the lack of child labor in most states, and the holiday pay, sick time. Those are all come from the unions. The unions fought for those. We also teach a lot of the ins and outs of each individual union and how you apply to them, because everyone has a different application process. Every single union has a different application process. So how do you do yours? So I see a question about how do you get sponsored? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. It depends on the union. So we teach you how to get into that specific union. We also, at the end of our program, because I actually work for LAX, I don't work for the college, I work for the airport, and we have just approved another $15 billion in work. That's a lot of money. You want your piece of it. So we invite the contractors from LAX in on graduation day to interview our students. We get some of them placed that way, and then the rest of them, we're working the process until they're either in or they won't take my calls anymore. It's one or the other. As long as you keep working with me, I will keep working with you until you are in. Like, that's what we do. We take it that seriously. Let's see, what else do we have in here? So I see a question about, you have to work in LA. So this is a program about the city of LA, the construction in LA, specifically LAX. So our goal is to place you at LAX or one of the city projects where you'll be local. You're local. But that said, you could end up working farther away. That's why we'll also work on your driver's license if you don't have one. You don't know where you're going to end up. You may end up working in Riverside one day, in Orange the next, and downtown the next, because that's how construction is. You go where the work is. But let's say you do a few years, you've been in the union 4 years, you're now a journeyman, and you want to move to Arizona because you got family out there. If you plan everything in advance with the union, you can transfer your membership. So you would be able to just transfer to the union there. Your rates would change to whatever that state's union's rates are, but you would just transfer. So you get to keep your pension, you get to keep your health insurance. But you do have to set that up in advance. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of times they won't do that for first period apprentices. Just depends, but a lot of times they won't, which is why I don't want you to think you could start here and then like a week later move somewhere else.
I have a question, Christina. Would you be able to tell us more about the schedule for the 8-week course? Is it Monday through Friday? Is there multiple timeframes?
So the program, like I said, 8 weeks. It is Monday through Friday. We start at 7 a.m. every day, which in construction is 6:30. So you have to be ready for that. We expect people to show up at 6:30. And like I said, attendance is very, very strict. And we start paying attention to who's rolling in at 6:58. Those are the ones that we know are probably not going to make it. I'm going to be honest with you. As a new apprentice, you're going to get used to getting up very early. You need to get used to arriving somewhere very early. And so, yes, we expect you to be here at 6:30. So class officially starts at 7. And then we do say you need to hold until 3. You cannot like start work or have another class or have anything else going on before 3 o'clock. Most days, well, I can't even say most days. Right now, they've set up our schedule. It's a little weird. We used to go 7 to 2. But now they've given me a variable schedule. So some days you're 7 to 3, some days you're 7 to noon, some days you're 7 to 2. It's all, you know, in advance. You will know in advance as long as you're checking the calendar, the canvas for the campus. You will know which day your schedule is which. But it does vary a bit, but we don't. The latest we've ever gone is 3:05. The latest schedule they've given me is 3:05.
Thank you, Christina. And so I know you mentioned it's the training takes place at Southwest College. Are there other colleges that have similar programs or where you offer the same program?
So HireLAX specifically is only available at Los Angeles Southwest College. That said, I believe, what is that, Mission College? Santa Clarita, I think, has a program. There's a program at Long Beach City College. There's a program. Ooh, I get mixed up. I don't want to name specific colleges beyond that because I will name the wrong ones. But yes, there are other colleges that have this program. HireLAX, though, is only at LA Southwest College. So the other programs also offer very similar training. I think we're the best, but they offer very similar training. Where we tend to get tripped up is a lot of times they don't have that employer backing them, like LAX, well, the owner backing it, like LAX backs Los Angeles Southwest College. That said, they're still wonderful programs. They can still direct you how to get in. They can still make connections for you. So wherever you can end up, wherever you can get in, I would say it's worth the training. And let me actually put in the chat the email for the organization that can point you to the closest program to you. Or if you're looking like, hey, I want to start in 3 weeks, you got something that starts in 3 weeks, they can answer that too. And that is LAOCMC3.org, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's .org. Info at LAOC, that stands for LA in Orange County. So LAOC MC3, that's M like Mary, MC3, the number 3.org. So they can let you know about other programs that might be closer to you, that might be starting sooner. Because I did see somebody ask how they can sign up. And unfortunately, our last orientation was this Saturday, which is why we don't have an active site right now, because we have just selected our next class. Our next orientation, though, I believe is scheduled for August. I just put it on the calendar, so my brain's a little fuzzy here. Perhaps I want to say August 12th. I think that's what we put it on the calendar for. So I haven't even created the flyers yet, but we will get those out to the community once everything is absolutely nailed down. I think they haven't approved my location yet. That's the issue. That's why I was still waiting. So, but that's our next one. That will be our last one for the year. And then we will start again in January, although we'll probably hold the orientation for that one in December. So you can just keep an eye out. If you want to follow LAX on Facebook or Twitter, or actually, I don't think they usually post on Instagram for our stuff, but in any of the other major posts, social media networks, they usually announce there when we are going to have another recruitment.
Christina, I want to emphasize to the audience here what you mentioned, and LAX is a great partner of LAEDC. So I want the audience to understand that this is a partnership with LAX, and a way to build a pipeline for those that do very well within the training to hopefully get hired into LAX. And like you mentioned, if you do not get hired into LAX, you guys still work with them to figure out where you're going to place them at. So it's such a great, unique program that's very different from the other programs that you might be out there, again, because it's backed up by an employer. And just to inform you guys in the work that we collaborate with LAX, there's a lot of money coming down the line in the future for potential projects. So there's a lot of work coming down the line. So it's always good to, if you are interested, to look into programs like this. But there was a question, is this class for students enrolled at Southwest College? I'm assuming the question is, do you have to be enrolled into Southwest College?
So just to be clear, this is a vocational program. So the expectation is you are going to work at the end of it. This is not a hobby class. This is the reason it's free is because it's taxpayer funded to put people to work. So this isn't a hobby class. This isn't something to do in the summer for fun. We expect you to go to work at the end of it. So most of the people who come to the program have never been in college before. They are new enrollees. Some have taken some college classes and realized, you know what, I just want to go to work. So what happens is then they do enroll in LA Southwest College, but it's for this class. Like they are not pre-enrolled in some other program because, again, this is a vocational program. The goal is to put you to work. So yes, you do end up becoming a student of LA Southwest College for the duration of the program. That's why you can't be enrolled in another college taking classes that are technically at the same time. We've run into that before, some student trying to take another class that was technically at the same time. They will shut that down. They will be like, nope. So be aware of that. And like I said, this is a vocational program. We are not looking for people who just curious, want to find out, do it over the summer because they're bored.
Thank you, Christina. And as Christina mentioned, vocational means short-term training that will get you ready for employment. So just for those of you that are out there who might be taking some courses at a community colleges and you find that that's not the fit for you, there's other options, just like the one that we're bringing on here. Or if you think you are wanting to try a different industry and getting into a path, construction, as Christina has mentioned, is a really great career path and industry to get into because it does pay sustainable wages. But I'll kick it back out to Mariana.
Actually, can I just add one more little thing?
Yeah.
So in relation to that, we have had college graduates come through our program because the industry they were in, either they couldn't get a decent job or they couldn't get paid enough. We've had people come through our program who've worked 10 years in another field and realize they just don't have the chance for advancement, or it's just not for them. They're not happy. They'd rather work with their hands. She didn't come through my program, but there's a foreman, that means she runs a crew, who she was actually a astrophysicist, theoretical astrophysicist, but she did not like working in the theoretical realm and she couldn't get paid well because those are usually not actually the best paying jobs. And she decided to become an electrician because it paid a lot better and she liked working with her hands. She really got a thrill out of that. So it depends on you, what you like to do. If you've realized you love working with your hands, you love seeing the physical embodiment of what you have created, construction might be for you, whether you've had some other college, whether you already have a degree, all sorts of things.
Yeah, I would also like to add, Christina, I know we probably have the same thought frame, but for those women out there that are thinking construction, this is a great career path for you guys. I know you're very coveted in the industry. It's non-traditional work, and I know LAX does a great job of actually looking for women in the industry. So if you're thinking out there, this may not be for me, I would suggest you try it out or ask Christina any further questions. But I think it's a great career path. But Mariana? You're muted, Mariana.
Thank you. So we have a couple of questions in the chat. From Ebony, we have, does Southwest College have apartment housing?
I do not work for the college. The best answer I can give you is officially yes, but they usually require that you be enrolled full-time, and we have had very limited success in getting any of our students into it.
Thank you, Christina. And then we have another question. Would participants need to take their own set of tools to the training?
No, we provide everything except the clothes you wear. And even then, if you're too broke to afford a pair of jeans, we will try to find you funding to get you proper jeans for class. This is a non-credit program. You are not supposed to be paying for anything. So that is our goal. The college campus here will give you a bus pass. And because of how long we are here, and because we know we recruit some people who are really struggling, we actually keep food here for breakfast and lunch. If you can't eat a healthy meal at home, you can at least get cereal or something here. Because we're trying to make this as easy for our students as possible and support them as much as we possibly can.
Thank you, Christina. So we have another question. Can current certificates through a trade school be used to fast track through the program, or is it only beginning from square one?
So this is an 8-week vocational program. There's nothing to fast track. It's already only 8 weeks. That said, if you have a trade certificate, go and apply to the union that does it. Just go apply to the union that does it. If it's carpentry, that's a hunt trade, you're gonna have to find your own employer, but you can just show up on job sites. There's an online list for unions or union projects, and you can show up on those job sites and just ask, hey, I completed this trade school. Can I get hired? For like electricians, it's a little more complicated. You need to go apply, but whatever it's in, go apply. Just go apply to that union. You can look it up online. Union plumber, the plumbers union, electrical union, carpenters union, whatever it is that you learn to do, look up that union and go apply.
Thank you so much for that advice, Christina. Yeah, I would advise you guys look it up and apply. There's usually going to be a wait list or something if there's a, very overwhelming need of individuals applying, but it doesn't hurt to put your name down, and then eventually you'll get a call. And then I do know that usually all the unions do have a boot camp that you do need to pass prior to kind of start working there or getting calls. So just a heads up, if you are in the construction industry or you're thinking about it, that's something that you really should be aware of, that it's very physical work. But I think the last question that I want to ask is any feedback, any advice for these students thinking about joining the program or just thinking about construction in general?
So being in a union is a brotherhood, sisterhood. It's not just a job. It's a career. It's a way of life. You are expected to participate. You're expected to give back. It's hard for a lot of people to get started, but once you're in, if you get in with a good team, you're well connected, you're volunteering with your union, it can provide a lot of sense of self-worth and just community, and you can get involved in that sort of stuff. And also, one thing I like to remind people is maybe college isn't for you now. I ended up going into the military at 17 because I was struggling and I didn't know how I'd pay for college to begin with. Yeah, there's a lot there. But one of the things that happened was I ended up taking my first college class. Well, my first in college class. I took a couple classes in high school. My first in college class, I did not do so great. My GPA, it wasn't terrible, but I knew I could do a lot better. I'm one of those kids that was constantly told, you're too smart to be getting these grades. That wasn't me. So I went to college in between things with the military. And one of the things that happened was the older I got, the better my grades got. So when I finished my bachelor's degree at 26, 25, I think, somewhere in that range, I was getting straight A's by that point. When I went to grad school, I was getting, I think I graduated with a 3.96. I had one A minus, like that was it. So doing something where you make good money while you figure yourself out is a lot better than blowing a lot of money on a third and fourth year of college for a degree you're not even sure you want. So if you finish up your associates and you're like, I don't know what I want to do, maybe go do something else until you figure it out. Because one of the things that'll happen is you could start construction and you could go, oh my goodness, I love this. I don't ever want to leave, but maybe I want to take a business class or two so I can start my own business. Or maybe you go, you make it 2 years and you're like, oh my goodness, this is not for me. You go back to college, but now you have something to work towards because you know that this other stuff is not cut out for you.
Thank you, Christina. And so I know we're getting near the end of the presentation or the overview. So I'll go ahead and launch the poll for everyone who's still here. Please go ahead and take a moment to answer the questions on your screen. And once again, Christina, thank you so much for sharing such useful information for these students. And so I know you mentioned that the current cohort that is about to launch next month is already filled. You already have those participants. So what I'll do is maybe follow up with you like towards the mid-July timeframe to get information about that August orientation so we can share it out with these folks on the call or everyone who registered, and they can learn more, and whether that's something that they want to apply for, they can apply for the fall session. So I know you mentioned you'll also have more next.
And don't forget friends and family. Don't forget friends and family. If you got a cousin that needs to get their life together, you can send them too.
Thank you, Christina. And so this is a rolling program, is my understanding, correct? So every year you're having more and more kind of sessions like these to launch the program. Is that correct?
So right now we're at 4 programs a year, and right now that is the plan for next year as well.
And what cohort size do you have? How many participants undergo each session?
We typically select about 35 for the class, and we usually see around 29, 28 graduate. That said, thanks to the pandemic, the classes have been a little bit smaller. So if you want to apply now, your best odds are in current situation, because this last orientation we had 54 people interview for the 35 slots. Pre-pandemic, we had over 100 applicants for every class, and it's been climbing back up slowly.
Thank you so much for sharing. So maybe if your situation isn't accommodating for this time frame, you can maybe sign up for the next year if you're interested in this program. So again, all of you who answered the poll, thank you so much for taking the time to answer those questions. If anybody has any last minute questions they'd like to ask while we have Christina, please feel free to unmute or enter them in the chat while we still have her on the call.
But while they're thinking, I'm going to throw one more bit of life advice out there, because it applies in construction as well as anything else. Number one path to success is showing up. You can't accomplish anything if you aren't where you say you're going to be, if you don't follow through on your commitments. So when you're thinking, oh, well, I don't need to go to class today because I can still have up to 3 absences and I just don't want to go today, it creates a barrier in your mind to success. You need to show up, get in the habit, get used to the idea that no matter what you feel like, show up. Show up, show up, show up. I'm not saying don't go get help if you need help, but plan to show up. Obviously, if you have a fever, don't show up. But short of that, show up, be where you say you're going to be, do what you say you're going to do.
Thank you so much, Christina. So we don't have any.
Oh,
Oh.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
When you submit your application for August, how soon will you be called out for an interview? So if I submit or it's open next month for me to apply and I apply in June, how soon will I know that, for interviews and if I'm selected?
Thank you. Great question. I forgot to mention that. So the orientation that I believe is August 12th, if they confirm my location, what you're doing is you're signing up to attend that event. So on that day, you will come in for an interview, you'll interview with someone, and then within a couple of days, we select for the next class.
Okay, great. Lastly, I don't know if you covered this. I'm a high school teacher, so I have a few high school students on the call right now. Is it a paid apprentice or is it like a stipend? Are they given a stipend or anything within 8 weeks, or it's just paid for the program itself?
So generally, I tell people to plan as though it is unpaid, because it just depends on whether or not I get grant funding to cover stipends. The majority of our classes have not had stipends. It just depends on the funds available. But I also want to clarify, since you are a high school teacher, they must be a high school graduate or have their GED. I will not take anyone under 21 without it. Because the high school diploma is so important. That high school diploma is so important.
They graduate next week, so I only invited seniors. So it's like 4 or 5 of them, but they graduate in a week, so definitely.
Yeah, then we'd love to have them in August.
If I can add, Christina, actually to the teacher online, the local America's Job Center of California WorkSource Centers works with programs like this where you could co-enroll and then they can get a stipend and get supportive services such as a bus pass, clothing, boots, whether their need is, and they can go.
And what was that website? I'm sorry.
But it's America's Job Centers of California, and we can drop that on the chat.
I called in, but I wrote it down. American Job Centers of California. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So Christina, once again, thank you so much for sharing such great information with all of us. This is being recorded, so we'll go ahead and share it out with everyone who registered and maybe weren't able to attend. Michael is asking for the website. We'll go ahead and follow up with an email, and we'll also share the email the couple of emails that Christina shared in the chat, as well as the link to the HireLAX website. And we'll go ahead and share the America's Job Center website as well, in case anybody would like to take advantage of that resource too. So with that being said, once again, Christina, thank you so much for sharing the advice with all of us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And everyone who was able to attend, thank you so much for coming and joining. We hope that you take advantage of this wonderful program. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.